Hello everyone. The title of today is Ambitions of a Blind Man. And what that really means is, where do we go from here? Let us begin stepping out of a grand hall where the greatest teachers of man and the most compassionate teachers, including Dalai Lama, Martin Luther King, and all the greatest men of history who have given their wisdom to you, and they are compassionately saying goodbye to you on your journey. Now, as you step out of that hall, as you step out into the reality that you are in, you are seeing the ambitions of a blind man was the ability of the experiencer to handle the object of experience. These are no longer teachings for a body, but for a mind that had many bodies positioned into a moment of transcendental understanding. The actuality of who you are is not subjected to certain topics limited to what society allows. You are beyond the mirror. Break the mirror. Let the world collapse for you to discover yourself anew. For a blind man will see he has no choice but to trust the world. If he is pushed, he will trust the staircase. He will trust the collapse. He will trust the curb. But he will stand up. Because a blind man knows that the greatest ambition is to see. That the greatest vision is your inspiration. Your life needs to be lived in such sincerity and authenticity to understand the natural flow of your presence that you begin to see everything elevates. The world will give you your gift. It is not you that you are trying to take your gift from this world. Do not search as an idea that is lost to never being found as a thinker. Pushed into the unknown, you are the faith of manifestation to be introduced. The light that you are is the expression of your truth. And you will see this blind man will go. Many of his senses will communicate. He will visualize many worlds. He will feel he is lost. And this blind man could also be any human being who has been in a position where they did not know. And you will see the trust in the I don't know is sight. You are given the allowance to perceive your I don't know. We are sure that we don't know. And that is why we know something. And beyond the ability of things, where man looks at nothing, he shall see intelligence beyond no thing. We must guide all those who feel they are not allowed to be in states of great creative flow. Creativity must be the greatest teachings of school and education. Education must guide the child in understanding the infinite ways he can give expression. And so then joy will bloom. You will see the proper songs will begin to play in your playlist, in your soundtrack, in your phone, because you are not caring which song has to be played. You're not dictating reality and wondering why it's not listening. Before having a need to ask and receive, you just see what you are and you know you have received something. I would like to share a quote by Richard Feynman. And he says, I have approximate answers and possible beliefs, and different degrees of certainty about different things, but I'm not absolutely sure about anything. Richard Feynman. This man is a very influential man, and he is suggesting that there is certain degrees of certainty and beliefs that we have in regards to what things are. And the reason we don't know is why we can evolve our sciences and constantly know, because we are in a world of infinite ability to observe. This depth is the freedom of man, regardless of which science or art form or manner of manifestation he's positioned in. The teaching is becoming one where your blindness was never blindness. It was the natural flow of your phenomena of never having to be only an individual consciousness. You saw all those moments you were with your friends, family, and community. It's as if your memories did not have to just constantly come to one individual. They came to the community. They were the appreciation of how the cosmos smiled at you. And this is, of course, a very, very intense level of poetic metaphor and metamorphosis. Metamorphosis. We must have an ability to trust life and to see that we must have compassion in any voyage. The ambitions of the blind man is the revelation to be the sight that he always had. So similar to a slave wants to be in a reality where he was never a slave. A blind man wants to be in a reality he was never blind. Realization was the clarity of the existential intelligence that was here realized. And you will see you will no longer be afraid of mountain lions that growled through furious words of poetry and sacred hymns written by men in the ancient history of man. My friends, there were people who they were called the seers of thought. They saw beyond the blindness of ideology. Because ideology meant the being was trying to be an idea, and as it so kept itself an idea, it wondered why it couldn't be anything more. Because the state of consciousness needs to be more. If you think you're an individual, that is your, let's say, solid body sense of state of consciousness. Body in quotations, you know. And so what that means is it can also change. And so there's also a liquid sense of body, and you will see the intelligence of that would be totally different. It would be an intelligence that is flowing. It has the knowledge through its act of expression. So what that means is knowledge is no longer something you're searching. Knowledge is how the curtain moved and the light just simply was there from before. Your moment becomes the most brightest exploration of experience that you as a being can perceive. And there's, of course, a self-reflective nature in this. What that means is my words are being heard by you based on how you have experienced life. In a certain way, you have taken steps in this life. I want to share a story with you. It's a Zen tale. And pretty much in this Zen tale, there's a man meditating, trying to obtain realization and greater understanding of his world. At the same time, on a subtler plane, there is a dark minion, based on how the tale goes. And this dark minion is observing this man. And this dark minion is observing this man. This dark idea is observing this man. And he suddenly goes and sees that this man has got a revelation. He's got a realization. And as this man has got a realization, the Dark Minion goes back to this character who was the Dark Lord in the story. And as he goes to this Dark Lord, he begins to see this Dark Lord tells the Minion, don't worry. And the Minion says, why? And the Dark Lord says, because he will make a belief about it. He will make a truth about it. Simply said, realization is your sense of being in a limitless state of consciousness. You are not oriented based on what you want to capture in a certain fantasy of a reality. The mystic solution was empty. And that is why there was an omniscience there, an ability to be a perception that was not limited by how the physicality was dictated or externality projected, but a recognition that internality was the choice of how the being chose to look at itself. You are how life is looking at itself. And this profundity shows the amount of ability and creative space you have to even initiate new technologies. So what that means is by increasing your trust in your world, you will increase how you will have an experience that you're not just a body who has a mind, you're a mind that is projecting a body, and you are also a mind that has an ability to be a simultaneous experience of many projections. And even you are beyond ideology in the sense that you will give yourself through your intuition and your guidance the fountain of confrontation you need. And so as you wash your face in this fountain, you are becoming aware of the profundity of the faceless. Even though we may feel we're submerged in deep thought, man exists through many great elevations simultaneously. You are being guided not per se by some external factors such as guides or extraterrestrials and anything. You're being guided by your own greater sense of existential self-communication and intelligence. You're being guided by yourself, because yourself is, once you observe it, you are beyond the story and the character. You are the intelligence of the omniscient experience of the storyteller. Your clarity is in how you saw yourself beyond where you were. For when complexity suggests there's no complex answer, the honest fool was guided by the simplicity that cleared up all confusion. For the smile of sincerity is absolute revelation. The ambitions of a blind man will become the greatest transcendence of man beyond his human ideology and sense of human orientation, and to dive into the depths of being to see that what man can be is the light of transcendental understanding. Much blessings and namaste.